Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to be reviewing and comparing the new Dior collections. We have the new Dior stick blushes, we have the new Dior backstage blushes, and we have the new lip glow butters. Today we're going to be diving into all three of these products and figuring out which ones actually deserve a space in your makeup bag. So if you've been eyeing the new Rosy Glow stick, or the backstage blushes, or the butters, and you remember the formulas of the past, this video is for you. Hey everyone, so I'm gonna break this up into three sections. First, we're gonna talk about the new stick blushes, then we're gonna talk about the powders, because the powders have a little bit more to talk about, frankly, than stick blushes. And last, we're gonna go to the lip glow butters. First, we're gonna start with the Dior Backstage Rosy Glow Blush Sticks. Now, I got 3 shades of these, and we'll go into the packaging, the details, all that good stuff. But before we do that, I want to take a step back, because many of you who are looking at these blush sticks may not realize this is actually the 3rd iteration of blush sticks that I know of. Okay, so there may be some that came even before I was buying Dior, but let's just say within the last 10 years. First, there was a Dior Blush Cheek Stick. This is the OG. This is the one that my understanding was the first. Again, there could be one before that I just wasn't tracking, but it was in 2015. It was the Dior Blush Cheek Stick, and it was a cream to powder formula with a velvety matte finish. Now, it came in some classic shades. There was a shade called Cosmopolite, like the old eyeshadow shade that I had in my single shadow video. If you haven't seen that, check that one out. Coral. So it was like a burnished kind of coral shade. It was all about precision and payoff. It was more pigmented than the ones that we have in front of us today. And it leaned towards that matte satin look. It was like a velvety matte, like I said. So it was a very sophisticated look. There was a black case that looked like, kind of like the Chanel cases for their blush sticks. And it was not just for your cheeks, but you could use it as like your cheekbones to sort of sculpt. And if I remember correctly, and I don't have any right now, if I remember correctly, it was like a really nice finish and I really liked it. But it was a little too matte for me. But I remember thinking it was good because I feel like I had one at some point. Just again, by now it's probably, I'm sure it went bad and I threw it out. Then in 2021, there was a stick glow blush, which I do have and I'll show it to you. They were sheer, radiant, and they were like a balm on the cheeks. And there was pink glow and coral glow. Those are the only 2 I remember. I don't think there was any other shades. It had a very natural beachy look to it. And it was very much a glossy cheekbone kind of thing, sunlit from within. And it was a more minimalist look. And it was like you went to the spa. That's the look. This is what it looks like. Stick Glow, silver case. This one is the Rose Glow. I'm gonna put it on the back of my hand just to show you like how balmy and like non-existent it is. Now, this was a pretty product, but I remember at the time, and I don't know if I reviewed it. I think I did. I have to go back and see if I can find the video, because if I can find the video, I'll put it up. But if I remember correctly, I was like, yeah, it's too like a glossy balm. I don't remember being blown away by it. I'm gonna put next to it the Dior highlighter. And if you look, they have a similar look to them. The Dior highlighter is a little bit more balmy than the Dior, but they have a similar pigment level. They have a similar like iridescent glossy kind of look. So the pink glow, and I didn't get the coral glow, but I'm guessing it was the same. It was very much a glow highlighty stick. It wasn't really blush, even though they called it a glow blush. And like I said, it kind of looked like you went to the spa, you looked very healthy, all that good stuff. Now we come to the newest one. and the new kid on the block, if you will. And this one is part of the Backstage line. So they've made it part of the Backstage. And this one is pH activated, which I don't believe any of the others were. It's a dewy blush balm, whatever that means. It's supposed to adjust, fused with cherry oil. So it's more of like a skincare meets glow kind of thing. And there are 7 shades. I just want to go through the 7 shades really quickly. We have pink, which is pink. It's the original shade that Dior came out with the Backstage blushes in the powder. And there is rosewood, there is berry, there is cherry, there's pink lilac, and the newest shades, there is candy and there is toffee. Now the shades that I picked up were toffee, candy, and pink lilac. The price is $44 for each one of these. But the price point, yes, it's high, but it's not particularly high for the luxury line. Westman, Dior, Chanel, you get the picture. Tom Ford, which did have one at one point. They might come back and have another one, who knows? But the packaging on these, I have to say, I love. Let's not talk about like formula or anything like that for just a second and just focus on the packaging. The packaging is the Attic lipstick packaging. And you would have seen the close-ups, and you'll see the close-ups of this and how, you know, cool it is and how like lucite and see-through it is. But on the case, each case corresponds to the color, which is brilliant because you can look at this and go, oh, this is candy. Oh, this is lilac, which is one of the biggest issues I have as somebody who is not 20 anymore about reading the bottom of the stick. Because okay, my vision is actually pretty good. My vision is 20/20. It used to be 20/15, but I can't really read. I mean, I can read it, but I have to like stop and focus on it to figure out what the bottom of this thing says. This is very clear. And I love that Dior did that. So hats off to you, to Dior, for at least doing that. Then, if you look at the clear, you've got the clear color, but on the silver case, just like the Attic case, it has the empreinte Dior all the way around, which is very cool. Then, you can stick this in this, and so you have an extended way to turn it, an easier way to turn it, in my opinion, blush, to hold it, which I think is just phenomenally good. So packaging receives an A++ from me. Way to go, Dior, okay? That's important because we're gonna talk about packaging in each one of these segments. We're gonna do the candy. Now remember, these are pH activated, so it is gonna change depending on your coloring and your skin, frankly. I mean, that's the easiest way to say it. All right. A swatch. You can see how pigmented that is. Now remember the Color Balm, the Color Glow that I showed you on my hand next to the Dior highlighter. Distinctively different. Now there's a scent here. I wish, maybe it's the cherry oil, whatever it is, I really like it. I think the scent is fantastic. There are 2 dewy, glowy finishes. There is Radiant and there's Pearlescent. So when I was ordering these, it was earlier on. I have them late because I was on my very long trip. And I wasn't really paying attention to which ones had Radiant and which ones had Pearlescent. But interestingly enough, all the ones I bought are Pearlescent. So I don't have any of the Radiant shades. What the difference is, you guys are gonna have to tell me, and you'll have to tell me if I have to pick them up. But let's go through the Pearlescent shades. So that is Candy. This is Pink Lilac. Again, same packaging. I think this is just brilliant. I know it's like a little thing, but when you're spending $44, the little things should be included. And the pigment here, guys, the pigment is like this. These are strong. These are like the rare beauty blushes. Like they have pigment to them, but they really can go on lightly. And I'll show you on the other side of my face. All right. And then last, toffee. Now, toffee, you would think would be more of like a tan, a brown, maybe like the bronzed glow or mahogany in the powder, but that's not what this is. I get peach from this. I get a pearlescent peach. It is the only shade that has that kind of tone to it. The other tone that is more like a warmish tone would be the cherry, which is a cherry red. And I honestly think the cherry red is going to be a little bit more pink than orange, but a cherry does have a little bit of warmth to it. But really, the toffee is the only one that I saw that I was like, oh, that's a warmish shade. The others, to me, all look more cool leaning. So if you take these shades and you want to have a lighter look, first of all, you could just do a tiny little amount on the face and then buff it out. Or you take a brush. You see how light that is. Okay, so these can absolutely be built up. There is no problem with somebody who is as pale as I am using any of these blushes. Similar to like the Rare Beauty and other very pigmented blushes, you just have to know how to apply them. Use a fluffy brush. This brush is one of the best blushes. This is one of the best brushes. This is a sheer buffer brush. This is a great brush if you want to take a cream blush or actually any product and buff it out. All right, so now we're going to take the pink lilac. I would suggest for most people that this is how you put on these products anyway. Don't put them directly on your face. It is always better to use a brush. You have more ability to like manipulate the product if you don't put it directly on your skin. But I get also the purpose of this is that you can put it directly on your skin. You can travel with it. You don't need a brush, but you get my gist. Okay, so that's the pink lilac buffed out. See how light it is? And frankly, really beautiful. Like when I use it like this, I really like this product. I mean, you've probably already been able to tell that I like this product. But when I use it like this, not as much. It's a little too strong for me. But again, I don't like a deep blush look. I like a more subdued blush look, something that is a little bit more subtle. And there is Candy. You can see the shades are all light and they have that pearlescent look, but they are all blending into the skin. I have dry skin. Just gonna say it again. I have dry skin. So these on me work really well. They have a very smooth, very comfortable feel. I think they look great on. I'm very happy with the finish of these. Again, pearlescent. I didn't pick any of the radiant ones. Eventually I will probably get one. Maybe the rosewood, I would guess, would be the one I would get. Maybe the pink. And eventually they're on sale because I don't need any more blush. But here's the thing. They are still a little tacky. Now, I have worn them where they do eventually sink into the skin, my skin. I have dry skin. But the cherry oil in here and the fact that they're infused with that, I would say you want to be aware of that if you have very oily skin. I don't know, necessarily how that's going to work. So if you want skincare in a stick and you love the packaging, which I do, I think it's really awesome, I would go with these. $44 or not, again, we're talking about luxury makeup here. So I think these are great. The packaging gets an A+. The formula, I give it a B because I feel like it's a little strong for me to put straight on my face and I'm always going to buff it out. I prefer the Dior's. They have more of a, not matte finish, but they kind of go down to like a skin type finish, which in a product like this, I actually prefer a little bit more because it's a little bit more subtle than these are. These are pearlescent or radiant, so, they have a little bit more of that possibility that they're going to accentuate texture. The skincare ingredient, though, I like for my skin, but not everybody's going to love. If you want like a structured, more velvety matte look, that's back in 2015, and maybe they'll bring them back someday, but they don't exist right now. And if you were looking for like a very sheer radiance, as you saw in the beginning, like super sheer, that was the Stick Glows. So I think this is a good combination of the two ideas that Dior did. I overall would say packaging, worth it. The formula, worth it, but again, it does depend. And I can't comment on the pearlescent versus radiant because I only have the pearlescent ones. It is mostly sunk in to my skin right now. But again, dry skinned girl. So I am going to wash my face and we're going to get into the powder blushes. Okay, on to part 2. So this is going to focus on the evolution of the Backstage Rosy Glow blushes, the powders, across the last decade or so. And we're going to focus on formula, finish, shade range, packaging, and then the ideal use cases for the different formulas. So they started out looking like this. The original color, pink. Then it came out in a shade called Coral. And I believe there was one other shade. Or maybe it was just pink and coral. To be honest with you, I don't really remember. But it started with just the pink. And it was originally 2012 when it launched. There was a color reviver technology as part of the formula. And it was supposed to react to the skin's moisture for a customized effect, which sounds a lot to me like pH activated. But that's not what they said. They said that reacted to the skin's moisture. Okay, just keep that in mind as we're going through this. For a customized rosy effect, it was a firmer texture, which you'll see, but buildable, very buildable. And it was this, they called it a universal pink. You know, I hate universal. Packaging was very sleek, very small, transparent lid, and the Dior was in regular sentence case lettering. There you go. Then in 2020, they reformulated and they came out with a whole bunch of different colors. So the reformulation said that it had the same color reviver technology. I'm looking down at my notes because that's what they called it. Improved texture and blendability and better wear time. I would argue that it was not an improved texture, and I would argue that it was not an improved blendability. When I used these, and I do have videos on these, I felt like it swatches much worse than it performs. How's that? It swatches kind of patchy, and you can get it to perform actually quite well on the skin with the right brushes, but you have to have your technique down. If you don't really know different techniques to apply blush and you don't have a great canvas to begin with and you don't have good brushes, these can fail on you. Again, my opinion. They expanded to include the coral, the 004 coral, and then they refined the compact. So it's very similar. The compact's very similar. The difference is the Dior is all in capital font. And the shades that they had the pink, they had the coral, added mahogany, they added rosewood, they added pink lilac, they added berry, I believe, and then they had 2 shades that were limited edition that came out as part of, I think, a summer collection, and I don't remember exactly what year, but poppy coral and bronzed glow, and those 2 I have here. Those are not part of the regular line, but again, they were the same 2020 reformulation and the same packaging. We are now in 2025 and we have the 2025 update. Now the 2025 update is probably the biggest update in packaging. The packaging has changed drastically. You have this square packaging. It's considered pigment-rich, ultra-fine, lightweight powder with a pH reactive glow. They've changed the wording. And it says it's a natural second skin finish. 7 shades that all have pH reactive customization. It has this, they call it a modern oblique peppered compact. And it's radiant, buildable color and long wear. Okay, that's how they describe this. They added 2 shades, candy and toffee, which correspond with the shades that are in the sticks, the Rosy Glows. So you have Rosy Glow sticks and you have Rosy Glow powder blushes. They should be the same shades and they're both pH activated. We've got pink, we've got berry, we've got cherry, we've got rosewood, we have pink lilac, I'm just making sure, but this is, I checked it out before, candy, and we have toffee. So same color stories as the blush sticks that we just went through. It says it is even more buildable thanks to a pigment-rich finish. Ultra-fine, lightweight blush blends seamlessly for a natural color and second skin feeling. 2 finishes. Here we go again. Natural blur and pearlescent. So there are different finishes for the powders as well. Now, I went back and forth trying to find out which ones are natural blur and which ones are pearlescent. I could not find anything that said which ones were which I find odd. Maybe I'm missing it because I have to say I'm still thrown off from my travels. So maybe I'm missing it. It's entirely possible. If I can figure it out by the time the video goes up, I will put it underneath which ones were which. But if I were to assume, which again is always a mistake, I would assume it's gonna match with the sticks. So if I match with the sticks, then the pink lilac, the toffee, and the candy will be pearlescent and the rest will be blurring. I don't know. And I tried to do it based on ingredients, but it didn't differentiate ingredients on the site either, so I was confused. And at the moment, they're only available at Dior. They will be at other retailers very, very soon. Maybe when this video goes up, depending on when I can get it up. So let's just talk about the formula compared between these 3, okay? So we're gonna go from original to the 2020 version to today's version. And today's version, I have candy and toffee because those are the only 2 shades that I didn't have, except for berry. I don't have berry. I don't really want berry. Like, I don't wear a very deep blush, so it's a shade that, although pretty, I don't have, and cherry I don't have. But again, it's just not a shade I'm gonna wear. So although I don't have berry or cherry, I didn't really feel the need to pick those up. Okay, so let's start with the oldest iteration, the original pink. And like I said, this is the original. And I've had this for years, and you can see I haven't really made a dent in it. That's how hard packed this sucker was. All right, so I'm gonna just go like this. I have no nails anymore, guys. I took my nails off. They're very sensitive, we'll say that. And we'll do 1 swatch, just 1. Okay, that's what it looks like. I'll build it, but that's what it looks like. We'll kind of just like, there we go, okay? Now, the 2020 version. I don't have the same color. I have pink lilac. We'll just look at the payoff. See how like chalky it is? And it breaks right up. I'll like kind of rub it in there, but it's not nearly as pigmented. You can just tell. Like and it breaks up and it's just trying to put it on. And then we'll use the new iteration, which is in shade Candy. I don't want to use Toffee because Toffee is the lightest and I want to get something that's similar. Now it has a hard pan. It has the Dior oblique, embossment on it, but it definitely feels a little softer. Yeah, you can see that it is definitely more pigmented and closer to the original. The other thing you'll notice is that the original has no pearlescence in it. This one does. All right, so now I'm gonna build all of them up. I'm gonna do 3 swatches each. Here's the original. Here's the updated. And here's the new one. The difference in the pigment is very, very clear. Very clear. Now, the original one had this buildable color. You could really get a great deal of shade out of this one, and it really was very buildable very, very quickly. The second one, it swatches terribly, in my opinion, the 2020 version, which is why when they said it was more like buildable, I was like, really? I thought it was terrible, but it does last a long time once you put it on your face. I will give it that. This new one is super pigmented in comparison, and it has the pearlescent finish in what again, this is my assumption, and if I figured it out, I'll put it down below, candy, toffee, and pink lilac. That's going to be my guess to correspond with the blush sticks. And then the rest will be that blurring. Now, that doesn't mean that these aren't blurring, but what it means is if there's a pearlescent finish, pearlescent means that it's going to refract, and I have said it many times, a highlighting property is going to draw attention to that area. That is the purpose of a highlighter. So if you really hate the texture of your skin or you don't want attention drawn to that part of your face, definitely don't go with anything that has pearlescent in it. My tip. Okay, so I'm gonna take the original and I'm gonna put it on my face, and I'm gonna use a dense brush. This is the kind of brush you do not want to use unless you want a lot of pigment. If you want a lot of pigment, use a brush like this. This is a classic base brush. Base meaning like foundation, like base. I am using it because I want you to see the difference in how these apply as easily as possible. So we're gonna use the first one. This is the original, and how I would normally just, brush it in. And we're gonna use it back here. Because again, this doesn't exist anymore, so you can't buy it well, you can get it on the secondary market, but you're not gonna get this. So we're gonna just go swipe down. Can you see how it kind of blurred that area? And when you buff it out into the skin, you see how blurring it is? It's ridiculously blurring, and it looked fantastic on the skin. And although it's relatively pigmented, it was never too much, but you could easily build it up, like quickly. You see that? How much pinker it is? And again, every time you did it, it just stayed as blurred as it was in the beginning. It never looks cakey. It never looks like you built it up. It just looks smooth and perfect every time. And the coral is exactly the same way. The pink and the coral, both good shades, and they both do this. And that blush is 12 years old. Yeah, it's 12 years old. It still performs exactly the same. Perfectly blurring. My skin looks more blurred, more perfected in a 10x mirror. Now we take the pink lilac from 2020 version, and it almost looks like hard pan in the pan, to be honest with you. We're gonna do exactly what we did here. We're gonna swipe it. It does blur. You can see it's much lighter. And if we want to build it up, we can. And like I said, this looks better on the skin than it does in the swatches. Something about the way it goes on your face with the oils. I mean, I don't have a lot of oil, but actually ends up looking quite good. It's really nice. And it blurs your skin. Not as well as the original, but still very, very nice. Okay, then we get to the new formula. And for the new formula, I'm gonna do both the shades that I picked up so you can see them. This is, we have, of course, the candy and the toffee. A lot more pigment. You can see right away that it's just much more pigmented. So we start buffing it out. Look at that, like how much more pigmented that is. And if I want to build it, and it is blurring my skin, but because there's a pearlescence in there, can you see the little, it's not like sparkle, but it's like the pearlescent nature of it. Can you see how that does draw? Like it's got a pearlescent finish. So you're gonna have a little bit of that highlighting effect from the product. Now we'll use the toffee. And these do have the same scent, by the way, as the other ones. I don't know what the scent is. It smells nice to me, but it's like a cherry scent. Like it you know, like look at the pigment of this. Like it literally covered my foundation completely. Compared, for example, to this. First iteration, second iteration, third iteration. So it is much more pigmented, and they are both still blurring. I feel like they do blur, but the pearlescent nature of this finish does accentuate texture more than I think the blurring formula finish will. Again, you know, I think that's the shades that I didn't buy, but I like a pearlescent finish anyway, so it's fine, but just keep that in the back of your mind. Okay, so let's use the toffee. We'll use the candy as well so I can show you what it looks like over each other. I think there's different ways you can do this. I think you can put on the cream and then put on the powder, but I also think you can put on the powder and then put on the cream. The way that they're going to tell you to do it is put on the cream and then put on the powder. I think you can play around with it. I'll have more soon. I will definitely do some, you know, updated videos. I have a speed review video that's due soon, so maybe I'll include these in that. So let's take the candy and let's put it on just from the stick. Well, the way I'm gonna do it though is kind of how I do the Rare Beauty blushes. I'm gonna go like just dots like that so that it's not too much, because these colors, like I said, and as you've seen, are very pigmented. I'm gonna blend them in with my buffer brush, which is my favorite brush. And like I said, there's a scent here. It's really nice, but I can't put my finger on exactly what it is. I think my scent's thrown off too. Traveling, honestly, like, is just, yeah, it just gets to you. All right, so we're gonna take the candy. We're just gonna go in with a much fluffier brush, and I'm going to go on top of it. I wanna show you that you can use these if you are pale like I am, or you just like a really much lighter version of these shades, or you can build them up and use them as, you know, a more pigmented look, whether you need that because your skin is deeper or because you just happen to like a more pigmented look. And so you're gonna get a nice, you know, combination there, because you're gonna have the cream underneath, you're gonna have the powder on top. It is gonna help keep the color longer. And if you have dry skin, the cherry oil will kind of keep your skin hydrated. We're gonna take the toffee shade and kind of put it on top, not as a highlighter necessarily, but because these are pearlescent finish, they will give you a little bit of that highlighter property because of the fact that they are pearlescent. The ones that do not have that have the radiant finish or the blurring effect in the powder, will obviously not have that finish to them. So we're gonna take the toffee and just lightly blend that in. Ta-da! Quite a beautiful look, I have to say. Really very impressed with the formulas. Dior nailed it when it comes to the improvement of the Backstage Rosy Glow blushes, however we want to call them at this point. I would say the 2012 version was a natural, buildable, blurring look. And again, there was only one shade of it. It was an everyday kind of blush. You could build it. Most everyone could use it because you could go very, very light or very, very pigmented depending on how you wanted to build. And it never looked cakey when you built it because it had that blurring technology. 2020, when they revamped it, personally, I think they made the formula worse. And I think they had a lot more variety because they came out with more shades. And I think the wear time was actually a little bit better. The swatches were awful. And on the face, it actually looked quite nice. But building it took a lot of time and a lot of effort. And anyone who had a deeper skin tone, honestly, you had to go to a shade like Mahogany to get color payoff, which, by the way, is what I have on my eyes. I have the Mahogany shadow. I happen to still like those blushes because I am very pale and I like very little blush, but you did not get what you paid for with that formulation. This new formulation is ultra pigmented, ultra fine. It is natural, it is radiant. They have these pH reactive shades, whatever that means. And it's a hydrated kind of feel. So it feels very comfortable on. It gives a lovely finish. These are pearlescent and blurring. I happen to like the pearlescent finish, but if you're somebody who doesn't want that, make sure you're getting the ones that are just blurring. How you'll know that, I'm not absolutely sure. Hopefully that will be clear by the time this video goes out, and maybe I just missed it, which is entirely possible. Lip Glow Butters is going to be the last thing we talk about today. This product I find, okay, we're going to use the word interesting. Let's just first talk about it. It's the Dior Addict Lip Glow Butter. And it says it's 24-hour hydrating high shine lip treatment, peptide, and ceramide. It has 5 shades. I ended up with the toffee. We have the Glow Blush sticks, which are $44. We have the powder blushes, which are $40. Then we have these at $42. Now, I don't know what to say about that, because I feel like you're getting so much more with the blushes and the blush sticks than you are with these lip butters, that I feel like you're paying really for the little charm here, which I hear people are making into earrings, people are making into necklaces, they're putting it on their bags, which again, that's fine. Way to be creative. That's a positive thing. But from my perspective, the packaging, which they nailed on the glow sticks, and actually I think they nailed on this. I like this much better than the 2020 version. I think it looks really cool. What happened here? Like, you said, oh, okay, we're gonna do a pierced juicy tube. That was what you went with, Dior? There's so many better ways that you could. I have some ideas of how we could have made this cool. But anyway, this is a juicy tube. This is a Lancome juicy tube. That's what this is. And I said it in my video when I talked about this, my live. It's nice. It's a nice product. It feels comfortable on the lip. It's a nice lip treatment. There's not a lot of shade here. I think the only one that might have some real pigment to it is the black cherry. I don't think there's going to be a huge difference between the other shades. The tip of this is curved compared with a lot of these like juicy tubes that aren't. They're usually just straight, flat. So that's nice. It has 90% natural origin ingredients infused with a peptide and ceramide duo. It instantly enhances the look of lips with a touch of color and shine while deeply hydrating them for 24 hours. This does not deeply hydrate them for 24 hours. That, first of all, it does not. The finishes are glossy or shimmery. Again, I'll put down below which ones are glossy and which ones are shimmery because I only have one. And again, I like them. I like them a lot. I love a shiny lip balm. I spend a fortune on balmy, products that frankly are way overpriced. But at $42, I have a problem with a plastic squeezy tube. And they have cherry oil in them. But they're nice. I mean, I'm not trying to be like a Grinch about this because I get it. These are gonna be popular. These are gonna sell out. People are gonna love these because the little charm, I get it. And I myself were like, oh, look, a little charm, how cute. I'm not separating myself from that. I understand, but they're not worth $42. Like whether any of these products are worth it, that's a highly, you guys have to decide that. I don't get to decide that. But I would say from my perspective on what I buy, these are worth it because I really like the nature of the product and the packaging. I, called out the things that I like. So I want to hear your thoughts, guys. Do you think that you would have liked the old formulas better based on what we did today? Do you think that the new formulas are worth it? What are your thoughts on me being mean about the lip butters? Did you pick any of these up? What are your favorite shades? I always want to hear from all of you. So thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I really do appreciate it. And I hope to see you in another video really soon. Bye.